Hey family, it's Tasha MAMABEAR Prepping. So welcome to the channel, welcome back to the channel. You know, I've been feeling some type of way. I don't know how y'all have been feeling, but the last week or so I've been feeling some type of way. Just in general, right? The urgency is still there. Concern about what is going to happen in the weeks, months, years to come. You know, normal projects happening with us, normal life happening with us. And I just have been feeling some type of way, and I haven't really been able to put my finger on it, right? And yesterday, I guess what it came to a head, I just was not feeling myself. I wasn't feeling, the closest thing I can put it to is depression, but it wasn't really depression. Like, I wasn't sad about my life. I wasn't sad about circumstances in my life. Like, it wasn't your normal just down. I just was down. And you know, later hubby comes home and he's like, what's going on? And I'm like, I don't know, I just feel weird. And I said, I think I'm worried about collapse, right? And when I say collapse, I mean a lot of things. I'm talking about collapse of our monetary system, collapse of the banking system, collapse of the housing market, collapse of the real dollar, like just collapse of all of that. Great Depression, moving from a recession to a Great Depression, and just all that coming. And not because I don't feel ready, right? Or I don't feel prepared. I feel all those things, but I'm just feeling a very heaviness that this is coming, and the average person is not ready for it. The average person is not prepared for what's about to happen, right? And maybe it's empathy, maybe it's sadness, knowing that people are not ready, knowing that people don't listen, knowing that I know people that just are not going to be ready, right? And how silly I feel sometimes telling people, hey, are you getting ready? Are you ready? And almost feeling like that weirdo, right? But then now feeling a heaviness and an urgency of like, we're running out of time, right? And if probably what didn't help was, you know, I follow a lot of news stations, I am in a lot of feeds, I follow folks, news people, and I follow a lot of different scopes of views, right? From different angles, but it all adds up. It's, if you watch the preparedness channels, they're all saying the same thing. If you watch the and the news, right, preparedness news, if you watch you know, weather news or weather channels, they're all saying the same thing. If you watch the financial people, they're all saying the same thing. And so it's haunting a little bit, understanding that all these people are seeing the same thing, and everybody in my kind of world and the things that I watch are all saying the same things, even though they all have kind of different views on stuff, right? They talk about what they see from their angle of what they talk about, right? Their topics. And even the news, right? Snippets of stuff. And I'm like, okay. And then, you know, you dive deep into stuff, and then you're like, okay. And you see for yourself, and then you understand maybe why somebody's saying something they're saying. And it's just haunting knowing that it's coming. And you have a lot of folks recently, these people, channels and even articles, and after researching stuff online, like the consensus is that, you know, a lot of folks were worried about this year and going into summer possibly, and going into, you know, by the end of the year and going into 2024. And now a lot of folks are feeling like, wow, certain things are happening recently that is really pushing timelines up. And folks are worried about something happening sooner than later. That has me worried. Again, not so much on the preparedness front, right? We're ready for stuff, right? But as you know, we're looking we're looking again at homes. We're looking heavily at different states. We're looking heavily at staying in Eastern Washington. We are looking at some other states. We are looking at homes, and we're trying to figure it out. And part of me is feeling like I did when we used to live when we were stationed in California and we could not leave yet, right? part of me is feeling like we're under the gun, we're running out of time, you know? And of course I tried to convey this, and he's like, look, you can only control what you can control, right? And if we don't get out of here in time, we are not able to solidify and close on land and get a place and find a place that we feel good about, that we 100% are like, this is it, let's push the button. And then there's a collapse. He's like, then there's a collapse, and we just move forward with our plans here, which were beautiful plans, great plans, right? And sometimes that's what you have to do in life, is you have to buckle down and deal with what it is you are given. What has God given us with this place here in this state where we're located at? The goods and the bads of that, of this location, right? And so, he's very go-lucky in the sense of just reality and, hey, we will just deal with it as we deal with it. And I'm more of a thinker. I'm more of the what ifs, and let's prepare for it. Let's get ahead of it. And he's more of, yes, absolutely, I'm on board with that. However, the stuff you can't control, you just can't control. And so you can't lose sleep over it, and we'll just move forward as we move forward, right? And then we started talking about the collapse and different things, and what that looks like. And again, it's not about whether we can make it. I fully believe we're ready for what's to come, you know, as much as we can be. You know, it can you do more? Always. But in our heads, we know that we are survivors. So really, things could go really, really left. And I know that we have the physical and mental skills to make it through super, super hard times, right? Even stuff that maybe we can't think about how difficult it could be right now. But I know that we've been put in hard times before, and we've been just fine, right? And so, and we've taught our children that, and we'll be okay. But it still doesn't take away from the fact that it's a scary thought of trying to figure out how to get ahead of that, how it will affect you, and you know, what to do, what's left to do. You know, and when I'm sitting here discussing, you know, all these things of the different levels of economic collapse that could happen and how it's going to affect us, you know, hubby again is very practical and very like, okay, well, it will be fine. Things might get bad, but don't worry, we'll go to war and we'll fix it, right? Because that's what, that's one of the ways that we do this. We do this stuff to ourselves. We have this crazy debt. We have this crazy invisible money. It's just the way we do things, and war is the way that we fix a lot of things. Well, supposedly fix a lot of things. And so that's his prediction. His prediction is that we will find ourselves, as we move forward with economic collapse, we will find ourselves in full-blown wars. Which again is new territory, because we've never lost the value of the dollar. Like, hey, all the banks closed, the dollar is no good, we can't honor our debts, the housing market, like we've never seen anything on the scale of what is being set up to be done to us, right? The powers that be, this is the direction that they want it to go in, right? And so we've never dealt with something like this. We've dealt with aspects, different moments in time where there's been economic crisis, right? Absolutely. But there's a lot of stuff happening, and there's a lot of signs, and there's a lot of red flags. Your money in the bank, if you are somebody who has thousands, tens of thousands in your savings, and it's just sitting there doing nothing, I'm telling you right now, like, you need to have your money in different locations. And when I say different locations, I mean on different levels of things. Have some being invested. Some is in your bank to pay your bills, right? Your automatic bills. A lot of it needs to be taken out. Keep the cash, if at all. People are like, well, you just said the dollar might lose. Yes, it might. Get hard assets. Get a little bit of gold. Get a little bit of silver. You know, get a little bit of in the digital game, right? Have a little bit of cash. Spend it, right? Frankly, just spend it. Spend it on preparedness items, on what I call assets: food, water, meds, ways to make water safe to drink, preparedness items, sheltering type items, all of the things. Those to me are hard assets. All of the things that we have to make our quality of life better when something hardcore comes our way, to me are assets, right? Those are real life assets. Having all my gardening stuff, our seeds, our books, everything that you could think of that you've ever bought that had to do with preparedness is an asset, okay? There is bigger things that you could be purchasing, like large water filtering systems, like your freeze dryer from Harvest Right. Like there's big things like generators, tri-fuel generators, solar generators. Like there's a lot of things you can get. Your whole solar setup, right? Assets, land, buying a home and buying land that has renewable resources on it, meaning water and wood, right? I just, there's no point in today's world to have 100,000, 50,000, 40,000, 30,000, 20,000 just sitting in the bank somewhere, because of all the strife that's happening and all these stories and reports that are coming out about business closing, banks closing. And when these banks close the door, they just close the door on you and people don't get their money. And people could say all day long, well, that's illegal, they have to give you your money. Yeah, they do, but when is that? Right? There's no timeline on that. Like, that's horrible for you to have 40,000 of your life earnings in the bank. Somebody closes the doors on it and is just like, yeah, the bank's closed, right? Like, that's not cool. And that's what's happening. Banks are closing and you're not going to get a warning. You have all types of hacks happening, different things with money and stuff. The whole Zelle thing the other day with Bank of America and Zelle deposits not going through. Like, where's that money? And that's the thing when you're working on this invisible money kind of pyramid world that we live in, where money is moved around and it's all digital, it's not even real, and your money is just taken. And that's why when a bank closes, you're just screwed, right? And so do not have tens of thousands of dollars just sitting in an account and you're like, well, it's safe. If you own a business, you need to think of creative ways to keep that money, right? And building the business and building those assets, right? And if you have to have that money and you're like, this is my emergency money, you need to keep it in a different way. You know, get an envelope. And a lot of people are like, it's not safe to keep cash. Well, don't tell nobody. Just do it, right? And hide it. And then nobody's the wiser, nobody knows. If you don't run your mouth and tell the whole world that you keep cash in your house all over the place, you don't become a target. Like these people that get murdered and stuff on these shows, and they're like, oh, it's because they told people they had stuff, right? I'm a coin collector, I have this stuff. They're showing all their gold, they're showing all their silver, and then they wonder, they get robbed and killed. It's the same thing. If you're out bragging about what you have and the money you have, and you're bragging about you don't like the banks and you're keeping it. Now, mind you, a lot of you guys are like, you're a hypocrite. You're saying this stuff and you're literally telling the world, baby, come my way if you want to. But for me, I'm just letting you know, we put our money in hard assets. It's assets, right? That's what matters to me, right? And so, you know, homes, land, that stuff matters, right? Renewable resources, hardcore assets, that's what matters. Paying down debt, if you have debt still, pay it off. The thing about the debt thing is, when this thing goes left, people are like, well, nobody can come for your house, nobody can come for that car, nobody can come for that stuff because the whole structure has broken down. But do we know that? I mean, we still have entities that will have people that will be there to check us, right? Or try to check us, right? And so a lot of times people are like, well, everybody wants to be in the same boat, so nobody will be trying to take anything. But we don't know what the plans are, right? We don't know what the real true game is in order to manipulate and get us and get our land and get our homes and get our cars and get these things, because we can't pay a debt, throwing us in jail because we can't pay a debt, right? So pay off everything, right? Everything that you own. And again, people will be like, well, if it goes left, why pay it off? Use the money for something else. And again, I can't tell you how to spend your money. I can't tell you what to do. But in my mind, I want to be moving forward debt free. I don't want to own a soul anything, right? And if your home is the last thing to pay off, baby, use every penny that you have extra to fast forward and pay that off as much as possible. And then the game is, how do you pay taxes one day? How do you pay taxes if you don't have a job and you don't have this monetary value coming in? What is it going to look like? How are we going to pay that stuff, right? Because what you don't want is the government trying to come in and say, well, we're collecting all this land, or the whole, you will have nothing and love it, right? You'll own nothing, meaning we'll come in, take your land from you because you can't pay on it. However, we will let you live here though for free. We'll let you stay here on your property, on your 40 acres, but just believe it's ours now. It belongs to the government. And then as things build up, the society that they want to build up builds up, you know, eventually you don't even own what you're living on, what you're working on, right? And again, this is what people talk about. You know, hey, well, that's the end. That's where we're fighting. Right? This is where it's civil war. People are defending their homes. They're not going to just let somebody come and take their homes and take their guns and take their things, right? And I'm 100% behind that, 100, okay? But these are the things that I think about, and it's like, how do you prepare for these things that could happen? Because pieces of this stuff could happen, or it could literally all happen at once. And the way things are being displayed is that we are really looking like all of this stuff is going to happen. And if all of it happens, you and I, baby, have not gone through anything like that, right? Our grandparents have not gone through anything like that. People have gone through certain aspects of what I'm talking about, right? People have gone through the Great Depression. We've gone through wars that we tried to fix and turn things around, right? We've had people trying to turn stuff around to the digital stuff. You have Venezuela. You have these red flags and events that have happened that show you things can happen. The dollar can lose value, right? The housing market has crashed before and been horrible, right? Interest rates have in the past gone up. Like, these things in pockets and waves have always happened over the centuries, but it's going to be interesting that when all these things come to head, and the civil war that breaks out when you have millions of people who all of a sudden just lose their money and their life savings because a bank closes down, and what that turns into, right? That turns into chaos, that turns into a purge type situation, people turning on each other, people turning on the government, civil war, crime, dog eat dog, right? Because people are just trying to survive at that point. Because what makes this real bad, is, I've said several times, we're prepared. But the average person is not prepared. So literally, they are going to be like, oh crap, look what's happening. And then they're going to look around their home and realize, oh crap, look what's happening. I don't have food. I maybe have a couple weeks of food in this house. I don't have much water. I don't have any medicines. You know, yeah, maybe they have some medicine. They have some Tylenol, some ibuprofen, right? They have a bottle of the normal over-the-counter stuff, right? Normal ailments. But they just got that bottle, right? They got toothpaste. Maybe they go to Costco and they have a couple things. They got 2 cases of toilet paper. They got some backups of toothpaste, right? They got some backups of a few items in their house. You know, they have a closet that's got some overflow stuff, extra body wash and stuff. But let me tell you, baby, when that reality sets in and you actually realize how much you have in your home and how much that will take you, how far that will take you, the average person is not ready. And the food and water is going to be the first aspect of that all, where they're like, oh crap, because the other stuff, they'll just be like, screw it. They'll try to borrow it from somebody else, get it from somebody else, or they're just whatever. But food, water, you have to have that, right? And again, if the water's flowing from the tap, people aren't worried, right? No big deal, right? But if the stores are closed, there's no food, there's panic buying, there's nothing being replenished, you know, the dollar's not even working, banks are closing, people don't even have access to their money to go to a store and buy something, right? It gets ugly real fast, and the average person is not ready. And that's the part that's daunting. That's the part that makes me a little depressed. That's the part that makes me a little bit sad, because I think things are coming to a head, and the writing is on the wall that something bad is headed our way. And maybe we turn it around with a war, you know. I don't know what we're going to do. I just know that I hope you're getting ready. And I hope that you're taking a look at what you have in your home and you're really, really seeing how far away you guys are from starvation. How far are you away from, you know, something bad happens, and when you look around, how many weeks worth of food do you have? How many months worth of food do you have? And how are you going to protect it? How are you going to ensure that nobody's taking it from you, can break in and take it from you? All of that stuff. You need to stockpile, stockpile, stockpile. Do not tell a soul. Buy your assets. Move your money around so that you have a few options, right? And just move forward. Keep pressing forward with what needs to be done, right? So I hope this wasn't a daunting video for anybody who's new following me or new to prepping, right? It can be overwhelming all by itself. And then, you know, you have somebody like me that comes in and is like, it's about to hit, right? And then you're just like looking at your little mini, you know, preparedness. You got a couple shelves started with extra food. But baby, this is not to deter you. This is not to make you feel like I'm not going to make it. I don't have time. Just keep pushing forward. Continue to do what you're doing. Continue to get that extra jar or the extra can of food. Whatever your budget allows, that's what you're going to continue to do. And I don't care if it's just a can every 2 weeks. Get that extra stuff and start doing it, right? You've got this, okay? Find a channel that does $5 prepping, $10 prepping, and just buy the things that they're buying every week. And before you know it, you'll have a lot. And they have different ways of doing different things, right? Of spending that $5 or that $10 a week or whatever. But just do it, right? I follow several people on IG, and they'll have just lists. Oh, these are the preps for this month. And oftentimes when I'm like looking for holes and looking for stuff, I'll look at their list and be like, okay, let me go look and see of my stuff, what I have. Or maybe they have something on the list that I've never thought of before, right? You guys, I'm not perfect. I'm not some kind of like secret squirrel, know all the answers, prepper, have the best stockpile, you know everything and have everything. Absolutely not. I told you several times on these videos that there'll be days hubby will ask me for something and I'm like, no, we don't have that, right? We don't have that. I haven't bought it, haven't thought about it. We don't have it. I definitely don't have it stockpiled, right? I'm a normal person just like you, just trying to prepare my family for what's to come. So you guys be well, be kind, do everything in love, and I'll see you guys on the next video. Take care. Bye.